The Galactic Council chamber floated in the void between stars, a massive ring of crystalline metal that housed the representatives of 300 civilized species. Light from distant suns filtered through transparent walls, casting rainbow patterns across the marble floor. Ambassador Thalen of the Vraxian Empire stood at the central podium, his four arms gesturing dramatically as he addressed the assembled delegates. The border dispute between the Kraloth Dominion and the Torvek Alliance threatens to destabilize the entire Outer Rim, Thalen announced, his translator collar converting his chittering language into standard galactic common. We must dispatch peacekeepers immediately. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Vraxians had maintained galactic peace for over 2,000 years. Their word carried weight. Their military might was unquestioned. In the far corner of the chamber, in a seat that hadn't been occupied for 3 centuries, a light suddenly flickered on. Every head turned. Every eye widened. A human woman walked to the podium. She was unremarkable by galactic standards. No scales, no extra limbs, no psychic aura. She stood barely 2 meters tall, with dark skin and black hair tied back in a simple knot. Her uniform was plain gray, unmarked except for a patch on her shoulder showing a blue and green planet. The Terran Federation wishes to speak, she said calmly. Silence crashed through the chamber like a physical force. Thalen's mandibles clicked in confusion. Terran? That designation is inactive. Earth was isolated after the Great Silence. Your species abandoned galactic affairs. We were never asked if we wanted to leave, the woman replied. Her voice was steady, but something cold flickered behind her eyes. We were removed. Quarantined. Your records say we were too primitive to participate in galactic civilization. A Cormac delegate, resembling a floating jellyfish filled with bioluminescent organs, pulsed with agitation. The records are clear. Humans were evaluated 400 years ago. Your species scored poorly on all advancement metrics. No psionic abilities. Limited technological development. High aggression indices. The council voted unanimously to restrict contact. The human smiled. It was not a friendly expression. My name is Admiral Sarah Chin, she said. And I'm here to inform the council that humanity requests immediate reinstatement to full galactic status. We have observed the required isolation period. We have developed according to our own path. And we are ready to rejoin galactic society. Thalen's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Admiral? Humans have military ranks now? How quaint. Laughter rippled through the chamber. What could you possibly offer the galaxy? Your world has no strategic resources. Your people have no special abilities. You are, forgive the bluntness, evolutionary dead ends. Sarah Chin did not flinch. We offer humanity. And humanity is more than you remember. Preposterous, hissed a Sarkith representative, its serpentine body coiling around its seat. The evaluation was thorough. Humans are barely spacefaring. You have no faster-than-light capability. No quantum manipulation technology. No dimensional folding. You are isolated on your single world. We were isolated, Chin corrected. Past tense. She pressed a button on her wrist device. The chamber's main view screen flickered to life, showing a section of space near Earth's solar system. Dozens of massive structures hung in the black, each one larger than a moon. Shipyards. Defense platforms. Massive vessels that dwarfed anything the Council had ever constructed. We've had 400 years, Chin said softly. 400 years of silence. Of watching the galaxy through telescopes and listening posts. 400 years of knowing we were deemed inferior. Unworthy. Forgotten. The view screen shifted, showing fleets of human warships. Thousands of them. Their hulls were sleek and dark, covered in angular armor plating. Weapons bristled from every surface. They moved with precision, formation flying that spoke of discipline and training. Impossible, Thalen breathed. The technology required. We learned, Chin interrupted. That's what humans do. We adapt. We innovate. We overcome. You left us alone and we built an empire in the dark. A Vormex counselor, an insectoid creature with compound eyes, clicked its mandibles nervously. This is clearly a fabrication. Computer-generated imagery. Humans lack the industrial capacity for such construction. Chen's smile widened. Would you like a demonstration? Before anyone could answer, alarms began screaming throughout the council chamber. Emergency lights flashed red. Automated defense systems activated, weapons tracking toward the view screen as if they could shoot the images displayed there. But the weapons weren't tracking the view screen. They were tracking the 50 human warships that had just materialized outside the Council station, their stealth fields dropping away like curtains. "We didn't forget you," Admiral Chin said quietly. "We never forgot." Panic erupted in the Council chamber. Delegates scrambled from their seats, shouting in hundreds of languages. Security forces rushed to defensive positions, their energy weapons glowing with barely contained power. The station's main shields flickered to life, a shimmering blue barrier that had never failed in 2 millennia. Admiral Chin stood calmly at the podium, her hands clasped behind her back. She watched the chaos with the patience of someone who had anticipated every reaction. "This is an act of war." Thalen roared, all 4 of his arms pointing accusingly at Chin. "You dare bring weapons into neutral space? You violate the most sacred laws of the Council." "I brought a diplomatic escort," Chin replied evenly. "According to Section 47 of the Council Charter, any species requesting reinstatement may arrive with vessels for self-defense. We are simply exercising our rights." A Hralvan commander, built like a bipedal bear with crystalline fur, slammed his clawed hand on a console. "Those are not escort ships. They're dreadnoughts. Each one carries enough firepower to level a planet." "Then we're adequately protected," Chin said. The viewscreen now showed the human fleet in detail. The ships hung motionless in space, their dark hulls reflecting no light. They were shaped like arrowheads, all sharp angles and brutal efficiency. No wasted space. No decorative elements. These were machines built for a single purpose. Thalen's translator collar crackled with his agitation. "Your stealth technology is impossible. Our sensors are the most advanced in the galaxy. Nothing can approach this station undetected." "Nothing." "You're correct," Chin acknowledged. "Your sensors are the most advanced in the galaxy. They can detect quantum fluctuations across light years. They can track individual molecules in deep space. They're truly impressive pieces of technology." She paused, letting the compliment hang in the air. "But they were designed to detect galactic technology. Technology based on principles you understand. Principles you've spent thousands of years perfecting." Her eyes hardened. "We didn't use your principles. We started from scratch." A holographic projection materialized beside Chin, showing complex mathematical equations and physics diagrams. The assembled scientists and engineers in the chamber leaned forward, their various forms of vision straining to comprehend what they were seeing. "This is nonsense," muttered a Zorvith physicist, its gelatinous body quivering with skepticism. "These equations violate fundamental laws of reality." "They violate your fundamental laws," Chin corrected. "You all evolved along similar paths. You discovered faster-than-light travel through dimensional folding. You mastered energy manipulation through quantum entanglement. You've built your entire civilization on a shared technological foundation." She gestured to the equations. "Humans approached the problem differently. We had no choice. You gave us no technology to build from. No examples to follow. We were alone in the dark, so we found our own light." The Cormac delegate pulsed with curiosity despite its fear. "You're claiming independent technological development? In only 400 years. 437 years to be precise," Chin said. "And we're not claiming anything. We're demonstrating it. Right now, my ships are using propulsion systems that don't fold dimensions. Weapons that don't use quantum manipulation. Shields that don't operate on principles you recognize. We built a completely parallel technological tree." The chamber fell silent. The implications were staggering. Thalen recovered first, his political instincts overriding his shock. "Even if this is true, it changes nothing. The Council maintains order in the galaxy. We have rules. Protocols. A human fleet appearing from nowhere threatens that order. Then accept our petition for reinstatement," Chin said simply. "Let us follow your rules and protocols. Make us part of the galaxy again." "And if we refuse?" The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Admiral Chen's expression didn't change, but something in her posture shifted. It was subtle, the kind of body language that predators recognize in other predators. "Then we remain isolated," she said quietly. "We continue to develop. We continue to expand. But we do it alone without Council oversight. Without Council law." She met Thalen's 4 eyes with her too. "Is that what you want? An unknown power growing in the dark, with no diplomatic ties, no shared interests, no reason to cooperate." The Vraxian ambassador felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. She was offering them a choice, but really there was only one option that made strategic sense. "The Council will need to deliberate," he said slowly. "Of course," Chin agreed. But while you deliberate, consider this. We know about the Kraloth-Torvek conflict. We know about the Hrenker invasion of the Delvar colonies. We know about the trade disputes in the core worlds and the pirate problems in the Rim. She smiled that cold smile again. We've been watching. We've been listening. We know everything. She turned and walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the silent chamber. We'll wait for your decision, she called over her shoulder. But not forever. Humanity is patient, but we're not passive. Not anymore. The doors closed behind her, leaving 300 species to contemplate what they'd just witnessed. The forgotten species had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same. The human fleet remained in position outside the Council station for 3 days. They made no aggressive moves. They responded to no communications. They simply waited, dark and silent, like stones in space. Inside the station, the Council was tearing itself apart. "We must destroy them now," roared General Carthax of the Sarkith Military Command. His serpentine body coiled with tension as he addressed the emergency session. "Every moment we hesitate, they grow stronger. Their very presence is an insult to galactic order." Ambassador Thalen raised one hand for calm. "Hasty action could provoke exactly what we seek to avoid. If we attack and fail, we appear weak. If we attack and succeed, we validate their claims that the Council rejects peaceful integration." "Peaceful?" Carthax hissed. "They arrived with dreadnoughts. They bypass our security. They mock our technology." A Kraloth observer, resembling a bipedal lizard with iridescent scales, interjected with cold logic. "The scans of their vessels are troubling. Our analysts cannot determine their power output, cannot identify their weapons systems, cannot predict their capabilities. Unknown variables are unacceptable in military calculations." The Cormac mediator pulsed with diplomatic concern. "Perhaps we should hear their full petition. Understand their intentions." The Chin human mentioned observation. "They've been watching us. They know our conflicts. This suggests intelligence, not just force." "Intelligence makes them more dangerous, not less," countered a Vormex counselor. The insectoid's antennae quivered with agitation. "A primitive species with weapons is manageable. An intelligent species with unknown capabilities is a threat to everything we've built." Thalen's 4 eyes closed briefly, a sign of deep contemplation among his people. When he opened them, his decision was made. "We need information. Real information, not speculation. I propose we allow a limited delegation to visit Earth. See their world. Assess their true capabilities. Then we decide." The proposal sparked immediate debate. Some counselors supported it. Others denounced it as weakness. But gradually, reluctantly, consensus formed. They needed to know what humanity had become. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the human flagship, the Unconquered, watching the Council station through reinforced windows. Captain Marcus Rivera stood beside her, his weathered face reflecting years of void service. "They're scared," Rivera observed. "Good. Fear is useful," Chen agreed. "But we need respect more than fear. Fear makes enemies. Respect creates partners." "Do we want them as partners?" Rivera asked. "They abandoned us, deemed us unworthy, left us to rot in isolation." Chin turned to face her captain. "We want them to never forget us again. We want every species in this galaxy to know that humanity exists, that we matter, and that we cannot be dismissed." She looked back at the station. "Yes, they abandoned us. And yes, that was a mistake. But we can't build our future on resentment alone." "The crew is getting restless," Rivera said. 3 days of waiting. They want action." "They'll get it," Chin promised. "Just not the kind they expect." An alert chimed on the bridge. The communications officer's voice came through the intercom. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Council. They're requesting permission to send a delegation to Earth." Chin and Rivera exchanged glances. A small smile played at the corners of the Admiral's mouth. "Accepted," she said. "Tell them we'll provide transportation. Our ships. Our route. Non-negotiable." "That will make them even more nervous," Rivera noted. "That's the point," Chin replied. "They need to understand that when they come to our home, they come on our terms. The days of the Council dictating conditions to humanity are over." 2 hours later, a Council shuttle approached the Unconquered. Inside were 12 delegates representing the major powers of the galaxy. Thalen led the group, his 4 arms carrying diplomatic credentials and concealed recording devices. Every delegate wore personal shields and carried emergency transponders. They were visiting the humans, but they were prepared for anything. The shuttle docked with precise efficiency. The airlock cycled open, revealing a human docking bay that was spotless and militarily organized. A line of human soldiers stood at attention, their powered armor gleaming under white lights. Each soldier was perfectly still, perfectly positioned. Thalen had seen many military formations in his long career. He recognized discipline when he saw it. A young human lieutenant stepped forward and saluted crisply. "Ambassador Thalen, delegates, welcome aboard the Unconquered. Admiral Chin is waiting for you in Conference Room 1. If you'll follow me." They walked through the ship's corridors and the delegates tried not to stare. Everything was functional, practical, built with purpose. No decorative elements. No wasted space. The ship felt less like a vessel and more like a weapon that happened to be hollow. But it was the crew that truly unsettled them. Every human they passed radiated competence. Officers moved with confidence. Engineers worked with swift precision. Soldiers carried themselves with quiet lethality. These weren't the primitive, disorganized beings the Council remembered. These were apex predators in uniform. And they were smiling. The conference room was simple but elegant. A long table made of earthwood, something almost no galactic species used for furniture. Chairs designed for various body types surrounded it. Large windows showed the curve of a nearby moon, its cratered surface beautiful in the starlight. Admiral Chin stood as the delegation entered. Beside her were 3 other humans, a silver-haired man in a civilian suit, a young woman in a science officer's uniform, and a stern-looking man with military bearing and scars crossing his face. "Welcome," Chin said. "Please be seated. Can we offer refreshments? We've studied your species' dietary requirements." The gesture surprised them. It was considerate, thoughtful. Not what they'd expected from a species flexing military might. "No thank you," Thalen responded, settling into a seat designed for his four-armed frame. "Admiral Chin, allow me to introduce the delegation properly. I am Ambassador Thalen of Rakshan. With me are representatives from the Kraloth Dominion, the Torvek Alliance, the Cormac Collective, and 9 other major powers," Chin interrupted smoothly. "We know who you are. We've been studying you for 400 years, remember?" The room grew tense. The scarred human smiled slightly and it wasn't pleasant. Chin gestured to her companions. "This is Dr. James Park, head of Earth's Diplomatic Corps. Commander Lisa Torres, Chief of Xenotechnology Research. And General Dmitry Volkov, Supreme Commander of Terran Defense Forces." General Volkov nodded curtly. His eyes scanned the delegates with professional assessment. Every alien in the room felt evaluated, measured, categorized. "Let's be direct," Chin continued. "You're here to assess whether humanity poses a threat. You want to see our capabilities, understand our intentions, and determine if we can be controlled or if we must be destroyed." The bluntness shocked them. Thalen's mandibles clicked. "Admiral, that's a rather harsh characterization." "But accurate," Dr. Park interjected. His voice was gentle but firm. "Please, Ambassador. We've spent centuries analyzing galactic politics. We understand how power works. We understand how the Council operates. You maintain order through a combination of collective strength, diplomatic pressure, and when necessary military intervention." Commander Torres pulled up a holographic display. It showed a timeline of galactic history, hundreds of data points connected by glowing lines. "We've tracked every Council action for the past 400 years. 237 minor species absorbed into larger empires. 18 wars prevented through peacekeeping forces. 42 technological restrictions imposed on developing worlds." She zoomed in on one particular entry. "And one species, ours, placed under quarantine and forgotten." The Cormac delegate pulsed uncomfortably. "The quarantine was for your own protection. And for ours." The evaluation showed high aggression tendencies. "The evaluation was conducted by a team of Rakshan sociologists who spent 6 months on Earth," General Volkov cut in. His voice was ice. 6 months to judge an entire species. 6 months to decide our fate. They saw our wars and concluded we were too violent. They saw our competitive nature and called it aggression. They saw our rapid development and called it instability." He leaned forward and every delegate felt the weight of his presence. "They didn't bother to ask why we fought. They didn't investigate why we competed. They didn't understand that our drive to overcome challenges is what makes us human." His scarred face hardened. "They judged us by their standards and found us wanting. But they never gave us a chance to prove them wrong." Thalen spread his 4 hands placatingly. "The Council makes difficult decisions. Sometimes those decisions cause harm. but they're made with the greater good in mind. Whose greater good? Chen asked softly. Not ours. For 4 centuries we've been alone, cut off from galactic trade, denied access to advanced technology, forbidden from participating in interstellar society. She stood, walking to the window. Do you know what that did to us? She turned back and her eyes were fierce. It unified us. For the first time in human history, every nation on Earth had a common enemy. Not each other. The galaxy that deemed us unworthy. Every human alive grew up knowing we'd been rejected. Knowing we'd been cast aside. Dr. Park pulled up another holographic display showing Earth. But it wasn't the blue and green world the delegates expected. The entire planet glowed with lights, cities covering every continent. Orbital rings circled the equator. Massive space elevators reached into the sky. We turned our competitive nature inward, Park explained. Not to destroy ourselves but to build. We poured every resource into advancement. Every mind into innovation. We didn't just want to rejoin the galaxy. We wanted to surpass it. Commander Torres smiled. And we did. We developed faster-than-light travel using principles you've never imagined. We created materials stronger than anything in the galactic database. We designed weapon systems that would make your best military minds weep. All in isolation, Chen added. All without your help. All because you left us no choice. The delegates sat in stunned silence. The Kralith observer finally spoke, its voice barely above a whisper. What do you want from us? Chen returned to her seat, her expression softening slightly. Acknowledgement. Respect. A seat at the table we were denied. She paused. And answers. Answers. Thalen repeated. Yes, Chen said. We want to know why you're really here. Because we both know this isn't just about our petition for reinstatement. She leaned forward. You're terrified. Not just of our ships. Of what we represent. So tell me, Ambassador Thalen, what has the Great Galactic Council so frightened that they'd send their top delegates to face the species they once dismissed as primitive? The silence in the conference room stretched like a physical thing. The delegates exchanged glances, unspoken conversations passing between them through their various forms of communication. Finally, Thalen's shoulders sagged in a very human gesture of defeat. You're correct, he admitted. We need your help. Desperately. General Volkov crossed his arms. Now we're getting somewhere. Explain. Thalen activated his own holographic display. It showed the galactic map, but something was wrong. Large sections on the outer rim were marked in red. Warning symbols pulsed across multiple systems. 18 months ago we lost contact with the Hrenker colonies in the outer rim. 7 systems, 20 billion inhabitants. We sent investigation teams. They never returned. His 4 hands trembled slightly. Then the Delvar sector went silent. Then the Korth mining operations. Now entire regions of space are simply empty. Commander Torres leaned forward, her scientific interest piqued. Empty? Define empty. A Kralith military observer, General Sethrak, took over the explanation. His reptilian features were grave. No communications. No life signs. No debris. The planets are intact, but every trace of civilization is gone. Buildings empty. Ships abandoned in orbit. Not a single body. Not a single clue. How many systems? Chen asked quietly. 43, Thalen replied. And counting. The disappearances are accelerating. Dr. Park's diplomatic mask slipped for a moment, showing genuine concern. And you have no idea what's causing this? We have theories, the Cormac delegate pulsed nervously. Most point to an extragalactic threat. Something from beyond our galaxy moving inward. We've detected anomalies on the edge of explored space. Gravitational distortions. Energy signatures that match no known technology. Including ours? Torres asked. Including yours, Sethrak confirmed. Whatever this is, it's using technology beyond both our understanding and yours. Thalen looked directly at Chen. We've deployed our best fleets to investigate. The Vraxian 3rd Fleet, 200 ships of the line, entered the affected zone 3 weeks ago. We received 1 transmission. He played an audio file. Static filled the room, then screaming. Not human screaming, but the sounds of terror are universal. Alien voices shouting in panic. Weapons firing. Then a sound like reality tearing, a frequency that made every being in the room feel sick. Finally, silence. That was the last we heard, Thalen said quietly. 200 ships. Gone. General Volkov stood and walked to the galactic display. He studied it with the eye of a career soldier, tracking patterns, assessing threats. You think humanity can help because we operate on different technological principles. We're hoping you can, admitted a Vormex counselor. Our weapons don't seem to affect whatever this is. Our shields provide no protection. Our sensors can barely detect the enemy before it's too late. We need innovation. We need someone who thinks differently. Chin exchanged glances with her fellow humans. They had a brief, silent conversation through subtle expressions and small nods. Centuries of isolation had taught humanity to read each other perfectly. Show us everything, Chin decided. Every sensor reading. Every tactical report. Every scrap of data you have. Thalen hesitated. That information is classified at the highest levels. You're asking us to fight your war? Volkov cut in sharply. A war you're losing. You want our help? Then trust us with the truth. All of it. The delegates conferred quietly among themselves. Finally, Thalen nodded. Agreed. We'll provide full access to our military intelligence. But understand this cannot become public. The civilian populations of the galaxy are already on edge. Panic would be catastrophic. We understand operational security, Chin assured him. Commander Torres, begin analysis immediately. General Volkov, I want tactical assessments within 6 hours. Dr. Park, start diplomatic preparations. If we're joining this fight, we're doing it on our terms. The meeting concluded quickly after that. As the delegates filed out, escorted by human personnel, Thalen lingered behind. He approached Chin, who was reviewing data on a handheld device. Admiral, he said quietly, I must ask, why agree to help us so quickly? We wronged your species. We isolated you for centuries. You would be within your rights to refuse, or to demand significant concessions. Chin looked up at him and her expression was complex. Not friendly but not hostile either. Ambassador, humanity learned something important during our isolation. We learned that survival requires unity. That threats to one become threats to all. That pride and resentment are luxuries no one can afford when extinction is on the line. She turned back to her device. Besides, if this threat is as dangerous as you claim, it won't stop with the galactic core. Eventually it will come for Earth. We'd rather fight it alongside the galaxy than alone in the dark. Again. Thalen felt something he hadn't expected. Respect for the human admiral. She understood strategic realities. She saw the bigger picture. There's one more thing, Chin added. If we're going to fight together, the Council needs to understand something. Humanity doesn't follow orders well. We question authority. We challenge strategies. We do things our own way. That could be problematic, Thalen noted. Chin smiled. Or it could be exactly what you need. Your way isn't working, Ambassador. Maybe it's time to try ours. The human analysis of the galactic data took 48 hours. When Commander Torres presented her findings, the Council delegates looked like they'd aged years. It's worse than you thought, Torres announced, pulling up holographic simulations. The pattern isn't random. The disappearances are strategic. Whoever or whatever this enemy is, they're systematically dismantling your defensive infrastructure. General Sethrak hissed in confusion. But they're attacking empty colonies, mining operations, research outposts. Those aren't strategic targets. They are if you're gathering intelligence, General Volkov countered. He highlighted specific systems on the map. Every facility that's gone dark had advanced sensor arrays or experimental technology. They're not destroying the galaxy. They're studying it, learning your capabilities before they make their real move. The implications settled over the room like a shroud. Dr. Park added gently, the good news is that they haven't attacked major population centers yet. They're still in reconnaissance phase. That gives us time. Time for what? Thalen asked. We've already lost our best fleet. Time to set a trap, Chin said. She stood and gestured to the holographic display. The enemy expects standard galactic responses. They've studied your tactics through 43 encounters. They know how you think, how you fight, how you react to threats. She zoomed in on a system near the affected zone. But they've never encountered humans. Our technology is different. Our tactics are different. Our entire approach to warfare is different. Admiral Volkov pulled up tactical simulations. Galactic warfare is civilized. You announce your presence. You follow engagement protocols. You give warnings. You try to minimize casualties. His scarred face hardened. Humans learn warfare in a different school. We fight dirty. We fight smart. And we fight to win. Commander Torres took over, her excitement barely contained. We've designed a response fleet using hybrid technology. Human weapons systems integrated with galactic shields and sensors. We're creating something neither human nor galactic. Something new. How long? Sethrak demanded. The fleet is already being assembled, Chin replied. We brought the components with us, hidden in our cargo holds. We just needed your data to finalize the designs. Give us 1 week. 1 week. Thalen's mandibles clicked in disbelief. We need months to design new vessels, years to construct them. You need months, Volkov interrupted. Humanity builds faster. We've had 4 centuries of practice turning resources into weapons. It's what we do best. 6 days later, the human shipyards near Earth worked in constant motion. Thousands of human engineers and workers moved with coordinated purpose. Massive modular components were fitted together with precision. Galactic technology was carefully integrated with human innovations. The Council observers watched in amazement. Ship construction that should take years was happening in days. Human efficiency was terrifying to witness. Ambassador Thalen stood beside Admiral Chen on the observation deck, watching the construction. I'm beginning to understand why the original evaluation team was frightened of your species. Because we build things quickly? Chen asked. Because you do everything quickly, Thalen corrected. You think fast. You adapt fast. You build fast. You evolve fast. In 4 centuries, you went from planetary isolation to technological near parity with species that have existed for thousands of years. That kind of acceleration is unnatural. Chin smiled slightly. It's called motivation. You gave us plenty of it. A new ship took shape before them. It was unlike anything either human or galactic technology had produced. The hull was human, dark and angular. But galactic shield generators were integrated seamlessly into the structure. Weapons systems mixed human kinetics with alien energy projection. Sensor arrays combined both technologies in ways neither had thought possible. What are you calling these vessels? Thalen asked. Chimeras, Chin replied. Named after a creature from human mythology. Part one thing, part another, but more dangerous than either. Appropriate, Thalen admitted. The first chimera was completed that evening. Then the second. Then the third. By the end of the 6th day, 50 hybrid warships floated in Earth's orbit, ready for deployment. The joint human-galactic fleet assembled at a staging point near the edge of the affected zone. Human ships mixed with Vraxian cruisers, Krolith destroyers, and vessels from a dozen other species. It was the largest combined fleet in galactic history. And it was about to face an enemy that had destroyed everything sent against it. Admiral Chin stood on the bridge of her flagship, now leading a fleet of both humans and aliens. General Volkov commanded the Chimera Squadron. Thalen and the other delegates were positioned on support vessels, coordinating galactic forces. All ships report ready, the communications officer announced. Chin took a deep breath. This was it. Humanity's first real test on the galactic stage. Not a demonstration of power, but a genuine battle against an unknown enemy. All vessels, she broadcast across the fleet. This is Admiral Chin. Today we fight not as separate species but as one galaxy. Whatever is out there has been picking us off one by one. Today we show it that the galaxy fights back. Today we show it that unity is our strength. She paused, then added with steel in her voice. And we show it that humanity never surrenders. All ships advance. The fleet moved forward into the dark, toward the systems where entire civilizations had vanished. Toward whatever nightmare awaited them. The enemy appeared without warning. The combined fleet had just entered the Talix system, once home to a thriving Hrenker research colony. Now the planets were silent, the space stations empty. Sensors detected no life. No power signatures. Nothing. Then reality tore open. It wasn't a wormhole or dimensional rift. It was something else, something wrong. Space itself seemed to peel back like skin, revealing a darkness beneath that hurt to look at. And from that darkness came ships. They were organic. That was the first horrifying realization. The vessels weren't constructed. They were grown. Massive creatures covered in chitin-like armor, with weapons that looked like evolved biology rather than engineered technology. They moved through space like predators through water. Mother of God, whispered a human officer. Evasive action. Chin commanded. All ships weapons free. The battle erupted instantly. The organic ships moved with impossible speed, their weapons firing beams of energy that seemed to drain reality itself. Where the beam struck, matter simply ceased to exist. No explosion. No debris. Just nothing. The galactic ships responded with conventional weapons. Energy beams lanced through space, missiles streaked toward targets. But the organic vessels shrugged off the attacks. Their armor absorbed everything, adapted to everything. Their defenses are evolving in real time. Commander Torres reported from the Chimera Squadron. Every weapon we use becomes less effective after the first hit. Then don't give them time to adapt, General Volkov growled. Chimera Squadron Alpha Pattern. Hit them fast, hit them different. The hybrid vessels broke formation, each one attacking from a different angle with different weapons. Human kinetic rounds ripped through organic armor. Galactic plasma beams burned through exposed tissue. The combination of technologies confused the enemy's adaptation response. One organic ship died, its massive form convulsing as incompatible damage overwhelmed its healing capabilities. It works. Sethrak's voice crackled over the comm, the hybrid approach works. But the celebration was short-lived. The remaining organic vessels began to change. Their forms rippled and shifted, growing additional armor plating, sprouting new weapon appendages. They were adapting not just to the attacks but to the strategy itself. They're learning, Torres warned. Admiral, they're incorporating our tactics into their own behavior patterns. Chin watched the battle display, her mind racing through possibilities. The enemy was incredibly adaptive, yes, but that adaptation took time. Seconds, maybe tens of seconds. And in combat, seconds were lifetimes. All human vessels switched to Protocol Chaos, she ordered. Admiral, her first officer questioned. That protocol is untested. And that's exactly why it'll work, Chin interrupted. Execute now. Across the human fleet, commanders received the order and smiled grimly. Protocol Chaos was pure human doctrine, complete tactical randomness. No patterns. No formations. No predictable behavior. Every ship became independent, making split-second decisions based on instinct and training rather than coordinated planning. The Chimera Squadron broke apart, each vessel attacking from impossible angles with constantly shifting weapon combinations. One moment using human railguns, the next switching to galactic particle beams, then back to missiles, then energy weapons. No rhythm. No predictability. The organic ships tried to adapt but couldn't find a pattern to counter. Their biological intelligence, for all its power, couldn't process pure chaos. Galactic forces maintained defensive positions, Chin ordered. Protect the support ships and provide covering fire. Let humanity dance with the devil. General Volkov's Chimera struck an organic vessel with a devastating combination attack. Human nuclear warheads followed immediately by galactic antimatter torpedoes. The enemy ship's adaptive armor couldn't handle both simultaneously. It ruptured, spilling biological matter into space. 2 more organic vessels died under the chaotic assault. Then 3 more. The enemy was powerful, but the humans had found their weakness. They were too intelligent. They tried to understand, to analyze, to adapt systematically. Humans just attacked. But then the darkness beneath reality rippled again. More organic ships were coming through. Dozens of them. We can't fight them all, Thalen's voice came through, tension clear even through the translator. There are too many. Chin stared at the tactical display. He was right. The human fleet was winning tactically but losing strategically. For every enemy ship destroyed, 2 more appeared. They would be overwhelmed eventually. Unless... Commander Torres, Chin said suddenly. Those rifts they're using. Can we analyze them? Already on it, Torres replied, her fingers flying across her console. They're not dimensional folds like our FTL. They're... Admiral, I think they're puncturing space-time itself. Creating temporary holes in reality. Can we close them? Theoretically? Maybe. But we'd need to generate a massive gravitational pulse at exactly the right frequency. Torres stopped. Her eyes widened. The galactic supercruisers. Their gravity drives. Chin smiled. A real smile this time, fierce and predatory. And our fusion cores for power. Commander, coordinate with the galactic engineers. I need calculations in 5 minutes. You'll have them in 3, Torres promised. The battle raged while human and alien scientists worked together at desperate speed. Ships were lost. Brave crews died. But the line held. Finally, Torres's voice crackled through. Admiral, we have it. But someone needs to get close to the rift. Very close. Within 100 meters. That's a suicide run, General Volkov observed calmly. I'll do it. No, Chin said firmly. I need you commanding the Chimera Squadron. This is an admiral's job. Chin, Volkov started to protest. That's an order, General. Keep them busy. Give me an opening. Chin turned to her crew. All hands prepare for acceleration. Helm, plot a course straight through the enemy formation to that rift. Engineering, I need every ounce of power you can give me. Her first officer, a young man named Chin had personally trained, looked at her with understanding and grief. It's been an honor, Admiral. The honor was mine, Lieutenant. Take care of them. The Unconquered surged forward, engines burning at maximum power. The entire Chimera squadron shifted, creating a corridor through the enemy fleet. Organic ships tried to intercept, but human vessels threw themselves in the way, sacrificing themselves to keep the path clear. Chen's ship took hit after hit. Shields failed. Armor burned away. But the Unconquered lived up to its name and pushed forward. 100 meters from the rift. 50 meters. 20 meters. Now! Taurus screamed across the comm. The Unconquered released a gravitational pulse combined with a massive energy discharge. The rift didn't just close, it collapsed inward, creating a cascade reaction. The organic ships near it were pulled into the implosion, crushed by impossible forces. And the rift sealed. The remaining organic vessels stopped. They floated motionless for a moment as if confused. Then they began to retreat, moving away from the fleet at high speed. Within minutes they were gone. Silence fell across the comm channels. Admiral Chin? Volkov's voice finally broke through. Chin respond. Static. Then weakly, still here, General. Ship's a wreck, but we're still here. Cheers erupted across the human and galactic fleets. They'd done it. Together, they'd driven back an enemy that had seemed unstoppable. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council reconvened. This time, Admiral Sarah Chen entered the chamber to thunderous applause. Not the polite acknowledgement of diplomats, but genuine appreciation from beings who understood what humanity had sacrificed. Thalen stood at the podium, all 4 arms raised in the Vraxian gesture of utmost respect. The Council has deliberated. We hereby grant the Terran Federation full membership status, with all rights and privileges. Furthermore, we apologize for the centuries of isolation. We were wrong about humanity. Profoundly wrong. Chin nodded acceptance. We appreciate the apology, Ambassador. And we accept membership. But understand, we're not the same species we were 400 years ago. We've changed. We've grown. And we'll continue to change in ways you might not always understand or agree with. We're counting on it, Thalen replied. The galaxy needs different perspectives. Different approaches. Different solutions. We've learned that conformity breeds vulnerability. Diversity creates strength. A Cormac counselor pulsed thoughtfully. The enemy will return. We all know this. The rift was closed, but there are others. Then we'll face them together, Chin said firmly. Not as separate species competing for dominance, but as allies united in survival. Humanity has learned the price of isolation. We won't make that mistake again. And neither should you. General Volkov, standing beside Chin in full dress uniform, added gruffly, Besides, you've seen what humans can do when we're angry and alone. Imagine what we can accomplish when we're part of something larger. The council chamber filled with sounds that could be interpreted as laughter across hundreds of species. It was a start. As the session concluded and delegates mingled, Thalen approached Chin privately. Thank you, he said simply, for helping us despite everything. Thank you for giving us the chance to prove ourselves, Chin replied. That's all we ever wanted. To be seen. To be heard. To matter. You matter, Thalen assured her. The galaxy won't forget humans again. Chin looked out the transparent wall at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, Earth rotated peacefully. Humanity's home, no longer isolated, no longer forgotten. Good, she said softly. Because we have so much more to show you. Epilogue. Years later, human children across Earth and its growing colonies learned a new history. Not the history of isolation and rejection, but of perseverance and triumph. They learned how their ancestors turned abandonment into opportunity, how they forged strength in the darkness, how they emerged not as conquerors but as equals. The human-galactic hybrid technology became standard across the Council fleets. Human tactical.